In today's video, we're going to talk about how to invest for beginners with $100. Hi everyone, my name is Helen. Welcome to my channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about how to invest as a beginner with only $100. This is basically where you should start investing. So let's jump right into it. The first place that you should invest as a beginner, if you have $100 to get started, is a retirement account. Why a retirement account? Well, that depends obviously on what type of retirement account, but typically retirement accounts are tax deferred. So a lot of retirement accounts you can take out will have no taxes on the money that you put in. That means that $100, you're not going to be paying any tax on. The other benefit, especially if you have a 401k through an employer or something similar, there might be a company match. That means that your employer will match the amount that you put into the account up to a specific stated amount. So for example, they might match 3% of your salary that you put into a retirement account. Now they're going to match that up until that point. So depending on obviously that amount, however much that percentage might be, you could potentially be making 100% return just from that particular thing. So I would recommend that if you're just starting out in investing, you just have $100 to invest, consider putting it in a retirement account, especially if you have a company match. The next option for $100 is to invest in an index fund. Index funds are a great option because you do not need very much knowledge of the stock market to start investing. The benefit of an index fund is that it is a total market fund or a total sector fund. So you can get invested in multiple companies by just purchasing one index fund. A common option would be, for example, the S&P 500 index fund or any kind of sector fund. Now, you can also do a total market index fund, which would be every stock available or every stock available on the market that is of a certain amount, but that's depends on your personal preferences for that. An index fund is basically a multitude of stocks put into one fund. It usually has relatively low fees or costs associated with it, and it does not require a lot of knowledge beforehand before you invest. And my third option, if you have $100 to invest as a beginner, is to invest in a stock. Individual stocks have variable prices. However, you can buy some stocks for well below $100, and buying an individual stock helps you get partial ownership of that company. One thing you do have to keep in mind is that when it comes to individual stocks, these are high risk investments. That means that you do need to do your research. You do need to make sure you know what you're investing in. If you're not sure about that company or if you're concerned about the risk, it's not the best investment for you as a beginner. However, if you want to invest in the stock market, which is a higher risk, you can expect a little bit higher potential rewards. That means over the long term, if you invest in stocks, you can expect that you will probably make more money when compared to other investments. Now, this does have the caveats that individual stocks are a high risk, so you also could lose a lot of money. That's why you need to make sure you do your research and you learn about the company, the stock, and the past performance of that stock before you decide what stock to invest in. Now, this is a bonus tip, you guys. If you've stuck around to this point, this is where I would put my money if you do not have an emergency fund. If you are currently holding $100 and you are thinking of investing, but you do not have an emergency fund, put that money into an emergency fund. There's several reasons you want to have an emergency fund, and the first reason is simply that if you have an emergency fund, your risk when you have something go wrong in your life, let's say your car breaks down or something like that happens, it's much lower because now instead of taking money from a credit card where you're paying interest on it or maybe even going as far as getting a payday loan because you just don't have the money on hand, that $100 is there for you that you can use for that repair or for the emergency. An emergency fund typically should be at least 3 to 6 months of your living expenses, and then anything beyond that you can start investing. I do not recommend that you invest unless you have an emergency fund. So if you liked this video and you got some value in today's video, please subscribe, leave a comment down below that you've subscribed, and I will respond back to you. I'll see you in the next video.